Okay.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. We're going to wait a few minutes. Do you like this setup or do you want to go in closer?
Oh, I could do either. I mean, I love seeing your beautiful face, but
We'll see.
maybe do that because truthfully, I like this because I should say this. I normally wear glasses. However, the current glare situation on my glasses will make it so that no one can see my eyes. And being a psychology nerd that I am, I know that we need to be able to see the eyes in order to connect with someone. So I took the glasses off. So I'm operating at not at full visual capacity, but I am happy with whatever you want to do. I'm just so honored and excited that you're having me here, Keneshia. I'm really, really excited for this.
I'm excited that you're here. Good morning, guys. We're going to wait a few minutes. Good morning, Dre. We kind of trickle in. Normally we do coffee at 8:30. So 9 o'clock is always new for us. It's like super exciting to be at 9 o'clock, but we kind of trickle in. And we'll get started in 1 minute, guys. It's not. What time is it your time?
At noon.
Oh, the joys of half day.
So I've been up for a few hours. I have a little bit of a head start.
Okay, I'm still drinking coffee. Good morning, Wendy. All right, guys, we're going to get started. Good morning and welcome to another episode of Startup Bytes, where we give you 5 tips in 15 minutes. And today I am so freaking honored to have my friend Natalie here. She is the co-founder of Rising Tide. Welcome, Natalie. Tell us more about yourself.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, you kicked it off with a great intro. I'm the co-founder of Rising Tide. I am also the head of community at HoneyBook. So I have both started companies of my own, not just with Rising Tide, also with, in the creative space. I was a wedding photographer for 8 years, co-founded a wedding blog as well back in the day. And then created a community of entrepreneurs. And so, the last 5 years, I've led Rising Tide after co-founding it, and it has grown and really just become this amazing community of extraordinary people that are building businesses and making an impact. I'm also, as I mentioned, a creative. So I write, I doodle, I anything involving creativity and creation, I love to do as well. And I'm based in Annapolis, Maryland. So we were joking about the time zone difference. I'm an East Coaster. I really kind of fall into some of the East Coast stereotypes. I'm sorry, but I did live on the West Coast. I know I feel like I need to apologize for that, seriously, but I lived on the West Coast. I lived in San Francisco for 2 years, and I have a passion for Arizona. I absolutely love the Southwest. My dad and my stepmom and my brother live in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So I've driven through Arizona and New Mexico numerous times and visited the Phoenix and Tempe area a lot. So that's me in a nutshell.
Perfect. Well, today, guys, we're going to give you 5 tips in 15 minutes about launching. So, Natalie, are you ready?
I am. Let's go.
All right. Let's go to tip number 5.
All right. Tip number 5, be a problem solver from the start. So whenever you set out to launch anything, whether it is a startup, a small business, an initiative, you really have to keep your eyes on the prize and start by solving problems. Always. One of the biggest mistakes that we make as entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial spirits is we create what we want to create in the world, not what the actual need is, not where there's a product market fit because we're solving a problem or we're bringing about a solution that actually is a true painkiller, not just a vitamin, not just something that, somebody takes every day and they need it or they don't, and they don't notice when they're not taking it. I'm talking like creating a solution to a problem that people really feel, that they experience, that they know and can identify. So setting out to launch something, you really need to know what problem you're solving, who you're solving it for, and having a lot of clarity around that value proposition and how you're kind of approaching the market. But without going too far into that, just solve problems. If you solve problems, you will always have a job. If you solve problems, your business will have a great foundation from which to prosper.
You hit on all the topics that we cover in our fundamental series, that problem, that vitamin, that pain point, like solve a problem, people, not just for yourself, but for the world or a big group of people. Just handle it. All right. Tip number 4.
All right. Tip number 4 is to create anticipation. I love this tip because, and I'll actually tell y'all a story. I, growing up as a kid, loved the holiday season. I loved it. I mentioned growing up on the East Coast, the leaves change in the fall, the snow starts to kind of flurry down in where I live. And I know Tucson, probably not so much snow flurries. It's probably still 110 degrees there right now, where all of y'all are. But the idea being that the holiday season is built up through different cues of anticipation. And I mentioned Mother Nature, but let's also talk about it from a strategy perspective, how brands and businesses build that anticipation. Everything from, leveraging your sensory cues that trigger those feelings of nostalgia and those memories, everything from the smell of pine and cinnamon when you're walking through a mall or a store to countdowns that you see that are all around you leading towards those big holiday dates. And collaborative messaging that comes from all different sources around getting excited and gifting. And you start to feel as if you're a part of something greater. You're a part of a season. You anticipate something big coming. And so when we think about launches in business, generating that sense of anticipation, creating that fundamental feeling that something exciting and big is coming is really critical. And I think sometimes we overlook this. Sometimes we think just because we're excited about what we're working on, that other people are automatically going to be excited too, and that they, know what to expect or know how to engage with what we're creating. One of my later tips will cover some of that. But it really comes down to planning your launch around cultivating that sense of anticipation, tapping into the human senses, everything from visual, auditory, even if you have a physical location, like thinking in terms of, touch, feel, and how things smell and the whole human sensory array. So I know that sounds kind of nerdy and out there, but the truth is you can't walk through a mall and pass by an Abercrombie without smelling it and immediately knowing you are near an Abercrombie. That is by design. There are airlines that do that. There are other brands that have successfully mastered the art of tapping into the human senses and pulling you in with anticipation of what's to come. So be strategic in your launch, build that anticipation.
I love it. I love that hype up until you launch. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes we miss that. We're like, oh, it's here. Oh, it's here. Like the hype is what gets them excited. And you want them to be just as excited as you are about what you're launching. So make sure you hype it up a bit. Tip number 3.
Hire your dream team. I know that this advice around hiring is given frequently and in different capacities throughout my career. I've learned this lesson over and over and over again. You can do anything you want. You can do anything you want. I know not everyone's on TikTok, but I hear the TikTok song in my head. Like, you can do anything you want if you're financially stable. Okay. But really, you can do anything you want, but you can't do all the things at the same time. And ultimately, too, you're not going to be the best suited to take on every role within your startup or your company. The reality is all of us have superpowers and all of us have weaknesses. So it's really critical when you're thinking about a launch to identify the areas of that launch or even just within your business at large where you are weak and ultimately hire for those weaknesses. I think we make the mistake as entrepreneurs sometimes of trying to strengthen our weaknesses. And I'm a big believer not in trying to strengthen the weakness, but in hiring it out to someone who that is their superpower. That is the area where they thrive, they succeed, or even finding systems that help to fill those weaknesses. So just really crucial tip number 3 here, hire people better than you and start with the areas where you are weak.
Perfect. We're having Diana on later next month to talk about hiring your first hire. So that is great information for us to kind of roll into that. Tip number 2, 3.
Tip number 2.
Okay.
Yes. Tip number 2. I love it. Thank you, Dre. Dre caught my TikTok joke in there. It was poorly delivered, but the appreciation for it means a lot to me. So thank you. I have to just give Dre a shout out here. Wonderful. Okay. Tip number 2, mobilize your audience. Look, I'll be really honest. This tip is one of my absolutely favorite tips. It is something I teach on kind of in its own right, but mobilizing an audience is really when we start to talk about creating momentum, creating virality, and equipping your people, the people that are passionate about what you're doing, that are either a part of your team or an extension of your team, that are a part of your community, equipping them with the tools they need in order to share, in order to help spread the word about what you're doing. One of the biggest mistakes that we often make in launching anything is thinking that the marketing power is ours. The reality is the marketing power is best when spread across others, and others are equipped to share for you. They create that organic engine that roars and roars and roars and ultimately spreads the word about what you're doing. So how do we do it? How do we mobilize our audience? In the short time that we have here, I want to cover a couple of things. The first is with tools. So you want to mobilize your audience with tools. You want to equip them with what they need to be brand evangelists. So this could look like, whether you're launching a company or you're launching an initiative within that startup or that company, sending them graphics, preferably something they would already share on their platforms. Any type of messaging, even swipe copy that they can use to share. You want to educate them on how you want them to evangelize for your brand or your business. So you're going to give them everything that they need: imagery, copy, and just really, again, we talked about in tip 1, the pain point aspect, knowing that in equipping, you want them to be speaking to the solution that you're solving and the value you're providing, and that painkiller mentality. Like, how are you going to cure the pain? How are you going to make it go away? And you need them to know that through the tools that you equip them with. The second is timing. When you're mobilizing your audience, you want to make sure that all of the tools you're sending, like we've talked about, all of the kind of momentum that you're building in anticipation is aligned with the timing of that launch, that they know when it's happening and when to share, because it doesn't matter if they share about a product or something that you're offering when it's not available to the public. You don't want to lose that opportunity. You want them to be aligned with your timing. And then also intention. I think with mobilizing your audience, it's really important to focus on serving them well rather than leveraging them. There is a difference. Oftentimes when people hear, get your audience to share about what you're doing and mobilize them, they hear, how can I use the people that I have to help myself grow, right? Help my business get out there and succeed. But I actually have found the best mobilization strategies start by taking a step back and saying, how can I mutually benefit both of us? How can I create a strategy where I am providing them with free resources or valuable content, or equipping them with something that gives value? And as a result, they are going to be motivated or have what they need in order to share about what I'm offering. And so true mobilization strategies aren't centered so much around conversion as they are around loyalty and affinity and nurturing and growing a relationship with your people and with your audience. So mobilize your audience. I love this, Nicole. Alignment and communication. Yes, 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 yes.
I love that. So I think it was a week ago that RTS, we mobilized and put all of your photos all over the world to say happy birthday. Wasn't that?
Against my will. Against my will. I had no idea. You all were going to do that. But truly, like that is an example, yes, of people mobilizing around something that they care about. In that case, it was celebrating my birthday, which was far too kind. And really sweet. But I love when we see people doing that for brands they care about, businesses they care about, initiatives they care about. And they do. Our greatest power as businesses is to get our people excited and to show and to show up through them, like really equip them, empower them, give them the tools they need. I think mobilizing your audience is truly one of the best launch tips that I can give you.
Perfect.
But not the best, because we're heading towards the best.
Okay. We're coming to number 1. So what is tip number 1?
Tip number 1 is in launching anything, a business, an initiative, in living your life. This is my greatest tip. And it is truly embracing a mindset of community over competition. Now, for anyone listening to this who heard the words community over competition and immediately wanted to lean in and go, what did she just say? She said embracing a mindset of empowering other people and helping them succeed. Like, won't that harm me? Won't that leave me behind? We're still talking about launching. Like, shouldn't I be in the forefront? Shouldn't I be the one who's pushing for my own success? And I want to clarify something right off the start. When we talk about using community over competition as a mantra for your life and your business, it does not mean eliminating competition. It's not community without competition. It's not community and no competition. It's saying we need to operate from a place where we put people first, and we acknowledge that although we compete in the marketplace and in the arena, there are rules by which we operate. We look for a sense of healthy competition, which truly means equity and a level playing field in all that we do. It means having a set of agreed upon rules that we all abide by. I think of that like business ethics, or, not tearing others down in order to succeed, not writing negative reviews about competitors, or trying to do something to harm somebody else. It means operating from a place of seeing other startup creators, founders, entrepreneurs, business owners, innovators as part of your team, as a part of your in-group, not the out-group, as a part of your community. I like to talk about it in terms of seeing the opportunity for us to grow and rise together, truly acknowledging that there is more than enough to go around. And when you do the other tips we talked about, when you're focusing on solving that problem for your people, your customers, your audience, whoever you're out there serving, you don't need to be worrying, looking left and right at the competitors that are, in your periphery. The truth is, when you spend time looking in your periphery at what your competitors are doing, you've already taken your eye off of your customers. You've stopped focusing on the people you're there to serve and the problems you're there to solve. You're spending way too much time looking to the left and the right, and a leader can't look to the left and the right. A leader needs to be looking forward and actually doing the work of leading, right? So I really think at the end of the day, if you're launching something, you need to adopt this mindset. You need to understand that, the others in your space, they're not your enemy. You might be competing, but they are not your enemy. There is opportunity for you to share and to collaborate and to work together, to acknowledge one another, to respect and honor one another and the hard work that's being done. And yes, I'm even talking about your fiercest competition. So it's really important to adopt that mindset in launching, to not take your eye off of your customer, to focus on the right things, to adopt, we talked about, the abundance and scarcity mindset, which are kind of the famous, ubiquitous, I think it was Stephen Covey, who I think that's who coined it. But the concept that there's more than enough to go around. You don't have to be operating from that place of fear when you're launching, that place of scarcity, that place of already anticipating the failure because you have competition. You flip it on its head and you step into the space knowing that there is more than enough to go around and that you can rise together. There is room for you and the competitors around you to rise, to succeed when you're out there serving your people, when you're out there solving problems, when you're out there focused on the right things.
Well, I think we can wrap this up now. Drop the mic. That was amazing. Let's do a quick review of your tips, just top level. So tip number 5 was?
5 was be a problem solver from the start. 4, create anticipation. Think about the holidays. How do they do it every year? I don't know. They get me. I'm 30 and I still get excited. 3, hire your dream team. You want to hire people better than you. Start with the areas where you are weak. 2, mobilize your audience. Think of your audience as a part of your team, right? And equip them with the tools and serve them first. Don't leverage them, serve them. And then number 1 here, community over competition.
Yes. Well, tell us what you have going on right now and for the rest of the year. What's new in business and life and all things. And where can we find you?
Yeah, so new things on the horizon. The first I want to shout out is our Honeybook Rising Tide gift guide. And there's very much intention behind shouting this out. Every year I should say not even every year, we believe in championing small business, period. Full stop, the end. Every year, one way that we do that is by creating this incredible gift guide that highlights different makers and artists and creators and product, makers in a really easy to shop online guide. It's coming up. We currently have our submissions open, and you can actually pay it forward and nominate a small business that you love to be listed in this gift guide. It is seen by tens of thousands of people. It is a huge, huge, huge opportunity, and we love being able to amplify these amazing businesses through this online guide. So that's the first thing I would say. We're working on it. You can learn more by heading over to Rising Tide on Instagram. It is one of our link in bio options. I think also on Honeybook on Instagram as well. And if someone has a link, feel free to drop it in the comments for submissions and for nominations. Again, you can submit yourself. You can also nominate a small business, which is what I'm doing, and I highly recommend everyone does it. Additionally, I would just say getting involved is the best thing that we've got going on. We are in a very hard season for all startups, all founders, all entrepreneurs. And so I would encourage you to get plugged into your local communities, get plugged into your Tuesdays Together group, or hop on over to the Rising Tide Society Facebook group. And plug in, get involved, lean into that community, lean into one another. That really is at the end of the day, what I believe lifts the tide for all, is when we can lean on one another and we're fighting for one another to succeed. And then where to check me out, where to get connected. I highly recommend heading to Instagram. That's where I generally connect. I know I joked about TikTok. I'm terrible on TikTok, so don't even waste your time trying to find me on there. Instagram is a great place to connect, just at Natalie Franke, and I'm always here to support. So happy to answer any questions about the work I do with Honeybook and tech, building community at Rising Tide, or just being a small business owner and creating things of my own, like shirts. Whatever it is, I'm learning, I'm growing. So I'm happy to share in that journey with you and support you in any way that I can as you're on your own journey.
Talk about the shirts in the shop really quick, because I think it's amazing. I placed a couple orders yesterday.
Yeah. So This was sort of a crazy idea that originally kicked off as a way to raise money for the Freelancers Union Relief Fund. And we created a shirt for that that said, "Long live small business." And I had a lot of fun doing it. And I thought, okay, this would be a cool way to collaborate every month with a different creator or designer. And so what I did was I launched a shop, and beginning in October, we were going to be rolling out with one new shirt design every month with a different creator, a different designer or artist. And they're kind of heart-centered shirts. So, for example, I will spoil something. Some of you might know this, but for October, I partnered with Justin Shields. He is an amazing illustrator, creative director at Justin Made That on Instagram. And we first became friends like a couple weeks ago. We've stayed in touch. And so his entire heart behind leading a community called Curious Tribe is around self-care and mental wellness. And with October 10th being World Mental Health Day, we wanted to do a shirt that was centered around mental wellness and mental health, and truly self-care. I think it boils down to self-care. And so our October shirt design says, "You are worthy of love." And it is awesome. Justin designed it. It's amazing. And so each month we'll be creating a different design and sharing it with the community and using it as an opportunity to introduce my folks to all these amazing, talented designers and creators, and also just collaborate on something together. So I'm excited about it.
Excited. So we will put Natalie's info in the comments. And if anybody has it that's watching, drop it in the comments. We would love to. Oh, somebody already dropped it in the comments. Love to support what you're doing. Thank you for being here. We are going to talk about what's coming up next. Don't leave, Natalie. So next we have innovation and egg salad, guys. Innovation Economics with Motown Music Accelerator next Thursday. So make sure you sign up for that, and that will only be via Zoom. And then we have the Momentum Mentor Sprint, and you can find out more about that on the website, so startuptucson.com. Next week, we have another great creative coming in. I believe it's Marvin, talking about video tips for creatives. I believe that's who's on the docket next. So join us for another episode of Startup Bytes next Wednesday at 9. Thank you again, Natalie, for joining us. And we will see you soon, guys. Bye.